In 1971, a man stood in an empty field in England, closed his eyes, and pointed at the dirt. He told the archaeologists exactly where to dig. He claimed the ruins were speaking to him. And here's the part that keeps skeptics up at night. They dug, and they found something. This is the strange story of psychic archaeology, the belief that dead civilizations can whisper their secrets directly into a living human brain. It sounds insane. Real universities funded it. Real archaeologists staked their careers on it. So the real question isn't whether ruins can talk. The real question is why your brain is so desperate to hear them. Because by the end of this video, you'll understand something uncomfortable. The ghost in the machine isn't in the ruins, it's in you. Let's start with why this matters. Every year, people spend real money on psychics who claim to read objects. Grieving families hand over heirlooms, hoping to hear a dead relative's voice. Treasure hunters destroy actual archaeological sites chasing visions. And entire conspiracy industries are built on faces seen in rocks. Because you're human. So let's go back to that field in England. The dig was at Glastonbury Abbey, and the man behind it was an architect named Frederick Bligh Bond. Actually, his story starts even earlier, in 1907. Bond was hired to excavate the ruins of the Abbey, one of England's most sacred sites. But Bond had a secret method. He used automatic writing. He and a friend would hold a pencil together and let it move on its own. The pencil, Bond claimed, was guided by the spirits of dead monks who had lived at the Abbey 500 years earlier. Bond dug where the dead monks told him to dig, and he found the Edgar Chapel, exactly where the pencil said it would be. The archaeological world was stunned. Then Bond made a mistake. He told everyone how he did it. He published a book called The Gate of Remembrance, revealing his ghostly collaborators. The Church of England, which owned the site, was not thrilled. Bond was fired, banned from the Abbey, and by some accounts forbidden from even buying a ticket to visit. But here's the thing nobody could explain away. Because the answer requires a detour into the strangest wiring in your skull. Look at any electrical outlet. 2 eyes, a shocked little mouth. You can't unsee the face. That's pareidolia, the tendency for your brain to impose meaningful patterns on random noise. Faces in clouds, a man in the moon, voices in the hum of an air conditioner. The word comes from the Greek for a shape seen alongside the real thing. A German psychiatrist named Karl Kalbaum coined it in 1866. He classified it essentially as a partial hallucination. You're a small, controlled, everyday hallucination, and modern neuroscience has actually caught it in the act. In 2009, researchers put people in a brain scanner and showed them objects that looked vaguely like faces. A real face lights up your fusiform face area in about 130 milliseconds. A fake face, an illusion, lights up the same region in 165 milliseconds. That's faster than conscious thought. Your brain decides something is a face before you even know you're looking at anything. This is not a lazy mistake your mind makes. It's a feature installed by millions of years of survival pressure. It's a feature installed by millions of years of survival pressure. It's a feature installed by millions of years of survival pressure. And if she assumes predator and she's wrong, she loses a few seconds of running. If she assumes wind and she's wrong, she loses everything. Evolution ruthlessly rewarded the paranoid pattern finders. The people who saw faces everywhere survived. The people who needed proof got eaten. You are the descendant of the jumpy ones. Congratulations. And it's not just humans. Rhesus monkeys see illusory faces too. This machinery is older than our species. Now, here's where archaeology walks straight into the trap. An archaeological site is the ultimate ambiguous stimulus. Weathered stones, half-buried walls, fragments of things that used to mean something. It's a Rorschach test the size of a landscape. And that's not a throwaway comparison. The actual Rorschach inkblot test works because of pareidolia. Psychologists show you meaningless blots and study what your brain projects onto them. The blot has no meaning. The meaning is all you. Stand in a ruined temple at dusk, and your brain does the exact same thing. It fills the silence with presence. It fills the gaps with story. History is full of people who mistook that feeling for a message. In 1877, astronomers pointed telescopes at Mars and saw faint, straight lines. Straight lines meant engineering. Engineering meant Martians. The astronomer Percival Lowell drew elaborate maps of Martian canals, built by a dying alien civilization. It was a global sensation. Then better telescopes arrived. The canals vanished. They had never existed. The lines were an artifact of blurry optics and hungry human brains connecting the dots. A century later, we did it again. In 1976, a NASA orbiter photographed a mesa on Mars that looked exactly like a human face. The Face on Mars launched books, documentaries, and decades of conspiracy theories about a lost Martian civilization, psychic archaeology, but on another planet. Then, in 2001, a sharper camera flew over the same mesa in different lighting. It was just a hill, a lumpy, ordinary, deeply unphotogenic hill. The face was never on Mars. The face was in the camera behind your eyes. And sometimes this goes from funny to genuinely tragic. Meet Chonosuke Okamura, a Japanese researcher from the late 1970s. Miniature gorillas, dogs, dinosaurs, even dragons, all of them just millimeters long. He self-published entire reports declaring humanity was unchanged since the Silurian period, except, in his words, for a growth in stature from 3.5 millimeters to 1700. He won an Ig Nobel Prize for it, the Parody Award for research that cannot and should not be replicated. It's easy to laugh, but Okamura wasn't lying. He genuinely saw tiny people in the rock. His pattern detector fired, and his belief did the rest. That's the sequence you need to memorize. Belief builds the story. Confirmation locks the door behind it. Which brings us back to Frederick Bligh Bond and his dead monks. How did the ghost pencil find the Edgar Chapel? Here's the unglamorous answer. Bond was one of the greatest experts on medieval abbey architecture alive. He had spent years studying old records, church layouts, and historical hints about Glastonbury. Somewhere in his head, he already knew where that chapel probably was. He just couldn't access the knowledge consciously. The automatic writing wasn't a phone line to the dead. It's the same effect that moves a Ouija board planchette. You push it, you just don't feel yourself pushing it. So the monks were real. In a way, they were fragments of Bond's own expertise, wearing costumes his brain stitched together, a hallucinated audience for knowledge he already owned. And this is the aha moment where everything connects. The canals on Mars, the face on the mesa, the tiny Silurian humans, the whispering monks. They're all the same phenomenon at different scales. A prediction machine, your brain meeting an information vacuum. Researchers even measured this with clouds. The fuzzier and simpler a cloud's outline, the more likely people are to see animals, faces, and fantasy creatures in it. Ambiguity isn't a barrier to meaning. Ambiguity is an invitation. Now, before you feel too superior to the psychic archaeologists, one twist. This same glitch built human civilization. Leonardo da Vinci told painters to stare at stained walls until landscapes and battles appeared in the blotches. He used pareidolia as a creativity engine. And honestly, real archaeology needs a disciplined version of this skill. Seeing a wall in a smudge of soil discoloration, recognizing a buried city in crop patterns from a plain window. The difference between the scientist and the psychic isn't the flash of pattern recognition. Both feel it. The difference is what happens next. The scientist treats the pattern as a hypothesis and tries to kill it. The believer treats the pattern as a message and tries to protect it. One digs to test, the other digs to confirm. The pareidolia gets stronger with age, and it spikes in conditions like Parkinson's disease and Lewy body dementia. The volume knob on your pattern detector isn't fixed. Fatigue, grief, and fear all turn it up, which is exactly why psychics visit the grieving, and ghost tours run at midnight. The people selling messages from the past know precisely when your brain is most willing to write them. So no, the ruins were never speaking. But something was. A 3-pound prediction engine, trained on 100,000 generations of survival, refusing to accept silence. A 3-pound prediction your name half heard in a noisy cafe, the phantom phone buzz in your pocket. Every one of those is a tiny seance. A small conversation with a ghost your brain invented. Next time you feel watched by an old building, or see a face in the wood grain of your door, pause. Say hello to the oldest software you own. It kept your ancestors alive. It just occasionally invents dead monks. If you like mysteries that turn out to be hiding inside your own head, subscribe. There are plenty more ghosts in this machine, and your brain will absolutely see a face in every single one of them.